Hi everyone, so in this video we will be going over the sine rule. So let's jump straight into it. So what is the sine rule? You use it to find lengths and angles of a non-right angled triangle. So let's get a non-right angled triangle, and just like as with cosine rule, we label our angles with a capital letter. So we will call this A, B and C. And the lengths, we always call them whatever it is opposite. So if that's angle A, then this will be length A. Angle B will be opposite length B, and angle C will be opposite length C. So what does the sine rule say? Well, the sine rule can be written in two different ways. You might see it as sine A over length A equals sine of angle B over length B, which equals sine C over length C. So that's the first way you could see it. Remember, the angles are always with the trig functions and represented by the capital letters. So what's the second way to write it? The second way to write it is writing the length on top. So length A over sine of angle A equals length B over sine of angle B, length C over sine of angle C. So these are both the sine rule, just represented in different ways. So why do we have two ways? So with this top one, we use this to find angles. So we're essentially keeping the angles in the numerator rather than the denominator. And with the bottom version of the sine rule, we use this version to find lengths. And most of the time, you don't use a full formula when working out angles. Sometimes you might just use part of it, so say just two of them. But essentially what the sine rule is saying, that sine of the angle over the length is equal to all the others as well. So all three correspond to each other. So let's look at a few exam questions on how to find angles and lengths using the sine rule. So this is a question which is saying work out the length of BC, give your answer to three significant figures, and the total number of marks is 3 marks for this. So what is length BC? Well, BC, so here's B and there's C. So this is length BC. And we know we're using either the cosine rule or the sine rule to work out length BC because this is a non-right angled triangle, so we can't use SOHCAHTOA. How do I know I'm not using the cosine rule? Well, we've got two angles and one length. And in the cosine rule, you need more than one length as well as one angle, and we don't have more than one length in this case. So that's the reason why we're using the sine rule. So because we're working out length, we will be using this version of the sine rule. So length A over sine of angle A equals length B over sine of angle B. So just remember, on top, so your numerator would be whatever you're working out. So in this case, the length. So now we need to label the triangle. We can call this angle A. So this would be length A. This can be angle B. And this would be length B. So let's substitute all the numbers straight into the equation. So A over sine A, which we don't know what A is. Sine A, which we've defined as 42. That equals B, which is 5 meters, over sine B, which is sine 53. And now we just need to solve this. So we want to get A by itself. So let's times up sine 42. So A equals 5 over sine 53 times sine 42. Putting that in the calculator to three significant figures, we get 4.19 meters. And that's our answer. So the second example is how to find the angle using the sine rule. So work out the size of angle X, give your answer three significant figures, so 3 marks. So we're using the sine rule. And because we're finding the angle, the version of the sine rule we will use is where the angle is on top, so sine A over length A equals sine B over length B. So let's label the triangle. We shall call x angle A, so therefore 10 will be length A. We'll call 60 degrees angle B, so therefore 15 meters will be length B. Let's substitute everything into here. So sine A, well, we've defined A as x over length A, which is 10. That equals sine B, which we've defined as 60, over length B, which is 15. We need to get x alone. So let's do sine x equals, so we're going to times 10 up to get rid of it from the denominator. So it will be sine 60 over 15 times by 10. And that just gives us root 3 over 3. And to find x, we just have to do the inverse function of sine. So click shift and then click sine on your calculator. Put in root 3 over 3. And to three significant figures, that gives us 35.3 degrees, since it's an angle, and that seems sensible with it being an acute angle. And that's the sine rule.